Now, I think that we could all agree here that Will Smith is absolutely crazy for standing by Jada Pinkett Smith and defending her, stating how he is willing to really be by her side for the years to come, everything ranging from her new books that she plans to debut in the next couple of years. This is basically going to be her new way of unraveling new revelations about her personal life, Will Smith, and enabling the whole Chris Rock drama situation of the slap at the Oscars. And it just will never end. We know that Jada Pinkett Smith is an individual that is not just an attention seeker, but she's a pathological liar. She plays the victim card endlessly, and she did this just yesterday when she was really trying to manipulate the general public into buying her book. We actually covered all of that. And one thing about this whole scenario is that the whole Jada Pinkett Smith promoting her new book, Worthy, actually led to some consequences for Will Smith and some Hollywood studios that have been fence riding for quite a long time now. Let's discuss. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Chris Rock is that we know that he and Will have been really trying to just move on and focus on themselves for at least a couple of months, right? It wasn't until Jada Pinkett began to really promote this new book, Worthy, where she began to talk more about Will and Chris, that really stirred up more drama and put this whole situation back into the spotlight. And it's really not working well for Will Smith in the slightest. Now, I'm not defending the guy at all. What he did was absolutely disgusting on stage of what he did against Chris Rock, and it was completely wrong. In fact, I think that Will Smith, at the end of the day, really, should have been arrested on the spot. Chris Rock should have called the police, but that's just my overall, view on things. But this is where matters get even worse about what's been unraveling behind the scenes for Will Smith. Let's get into it. Now, with Jada Pinkett Smith actively promoting her book Worthy, in which it dives more into her personal life and new revelations about Will Smith and even covers the slap situation, one major development has to do with Will Smith's current scenario within Hollywood that recently went into a downward trend worse than before. A couple of revelations recently surfaced behind the scenes of major Hollywood studios that actually fired Will Smith completely and finally as the Jada Pinkett Smith drama continues with Chris Rock. As it turns out, one of many studios that fired Smith just recently that was considered a fence rider for a while on making this decision was a Paramount Pictures project, or two, who worked with Will Smith on Gemini Man, a film that didn't do well with critics' reception or at the box office through Paramount, and of course, and though they were in the talks with him and Smith on making a return for two major projects that would be considered original films much like Gemini Man, the recent decision by CEO Brian Robbins was to exclude Will Smith from many of their upcoming roster of films, and surprisingly, this decision was made due to Jada Pinkett Smith's book Worthy, stirring up more drama about Will Smith and Chris Rock and the whole spotlight on that situation, as many studios are aware that even using Smith's name is already bad for business just by putting it in a trailer with the use of title cards, etc. that pop up would be considered a bad marketing move to anybody out there. However, on top of that, the two untitled projects that Smith was working on with Paramount that he was fired from just recently were going to be two unique action thrillers that are now officially canceled due to these conflicts. Another crucial update surrounding Smith's status in Hollywood is that this also, of course, led to a firing from all of Disney, and though the slap situation ultimately created deep conflicts for Aladdin 2, which is no longer going to happen due to not only Smith's absence after getting let go by Disney, but shockingly, Will was going to be involved as a voiceover role for a new Disney Plus project that was supposed to be something similar to his involvement with his debut in Welcome to Earth for Nat Geo. Disney was planning to do a follow-up to that actual piece for Disney Plus to all of this that they recently fired him from altogether, and the Welcome to Earth follow-up is now looking for a new, well-known actor in Hollywood to take over to visit wild and strange areas on planet Earth. So let me just stop here for 1 second. The problem with all of this is that there are a number of studios that are still fence riding with Will Smith. Some studios out there don't want to let him go, they want to still work with him, others of which have already blacklisted him just after the Oscars. And then you have people out there like Disney, studios out there, I should say, like Disney, Paramount Pictures, and how they now want nothing to do with him because they have realized the ramifications of what happens when Jada Pinkett Smith opens her mouth, stirs up more drama, drags Chris and Will back into the spotlight again, and it just creates a bigger mess. So Disney and Paramount were among the fence riders within the Hollywood bubble that finally popped, basically, right, is what happened. You have this scenario where they wanted to do, as in Paramount, they wanted to do these two unique action thrillers that were going to be considered original takes, like Gemini Man, which, by the way, critics really hated that movie. It was not well received by the critics. I know that some audiences liked it, some audiences did not like it as well, but it did not do well at the box office. It really suffered a lot, and Paramount really wanted to stir things up new with Will Smith to give him a second chance, and that is now not happening at all in the least. Now, this is where things pick up and get very interesting. So, this was all due to Jada Pinkett Smith's book Worthy enabling the fence-riding studios to finally wake up and make a decision. With Smith already blacklisted from many major Hollywood studios as it is, both Disney and Paramount actually and finally made their call to move on. As of now, however, he is still desperately working on the fourth Bad Boys movie as a producer and trying to make this film as his major comeback with Columbia in Hollywood that holds a very little chance at succeeding, such as a, of course, big wish in his acting career. Jada Pinkett is also planning to create new books that will unravel more revelations about Will Smith that is destined to create more drama, which is not good for studios and their business at all. With Smith fired from Paramount and Disney completely, they are now in the process of replacing their two canceled titles, as in Paramount, with new ones instead that will be announced by Q1 of 2024. So again, we have a situation here where Pinkett Smith is going on this whole train of marketing her book, right? She also plans to do a lot of book signatures in person, stuff like that, to really boost up sales. I think it just goes to show you that the Smith family is heavily flawed. You have Will Smith, who is just so out of touch with his scenario that he's willing to stand by a pathological liar, an attention seeker, someone that plays the victim card endlessly. Will Smith, in my opinion, I'm not defending him again, but I will say the man is a victim on some level, some way, to the point where I'm not quite sure why he would be sticking with Jada. Now look, I understand, they got a family, they've got children, stuff like that, understandable, but you gotta realize about what's going on with Jada Pinkett Smith and why he should actually officially just divorce her and just call it quits. So, Chris Rock, the whole scenario is not good for anybody. This is why Chris and Will have been trying to desperately distance themselves from that drama piece, but now it's unraveling with this new book. So overall, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.
From night